Define what transgender means.
It's anyone who identifies as a gender that's different than what was assigned to them at birth.
It feels like you were born in the wrong skin suit. Everything on the inside feels right. It's just the outside.
Can you define what trans man is?
So we are men who were assigned female at birth and transitioned to male.
Do you remember the moment when you first had some kind of realization, like this doesn't feel right?
Oh yeah, Anthony.
Oh, you know it's getting deep when they say my name.
Here it is. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew something was fucked up. I was always referred to as a tomboy as a little kid, so I thought I was a type of boy. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, you get it. Yeah, in my mind, a tomboy was a boy that was a girl.
I was raised like super religious, and Mom would sit us on the bathroom counter every Sunday and get us ready for church. And as soon as she started curling my hair and putting bows in and dress, I would just bawl my eyes out. And I was like 4 years old. I was feeling like, no, I'm a boy. This is wrong.
Yeah.
And then they're putting a dress on me. That's the thing that I'm identifying as wrong. Like as I got older and my body was maturing, then it became this deeper thing. Like physically, the shapes and the skin and everything feels wrong, because now I can identify that that's what that is. And I didn't even know the word transgender until I was an adult. I didn't even know that existed. I thought I was the only person in the world. And I remember like literally crying in my pillow at night. So I would beg God, like, please just tomorrow I'll wake up and I'm a boy.
Like the 6th or 7th grade, our teacher comes in and says, hey everyone, we're going to learn about puberty today. All the guys stay here and all the girls are going to leave and go to another room. So I stayed there. I was like, okay, like I'm ready. Let's hear about, whatever this puberty thing is about. She said, hey, what are you still doing here? Like you should have been gone with all the other girls. I ended up going to the room with the girls. We watched some, cheesy 90s video about what happens, when females have puberty and all that. Honestly, my first thought was, this is terrible.
like this is terrible. This is a terrible thing. You know what? It's not even real. It's not even real. This type of thing does not happen.
Absolutely. I thought everyone was just making stuff up. I was in such disbelief. And I remember even making a comment to my friend like, y'all are gonna have periods? There was such a disconnect between, again, like how people viewed me versus how I viewed myself.
In school, they would have us line up in a boys' line and a girls' line to go to the bathroom. I refused to line up with the girls. And eventually it got to the point where this was an everyday thing, and my parents had to have a talk with me. It was cute, but it's time to be real. I am a girl, and I have to function like one. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, well, I have a crush on one of my friends who's a girl, but boys date girls, so what's going on there? Me not realizing the weight of the fact that I had just came out, so I'm just like, no, never mind. Like, I had no idea how bad all this stuff was that I was feeling. It was tough. I mean, it definitely took a toll on me. I had a lot of anxiety issues that manifested in different ways. Around the time that I started puberty, I developed facial tics. I think it was just generalized anxiety from all that, suppressing everything, and then having that the change of my body confirming that I don't have any choice in this situation. I'm stuck in this body, in this role.
Right.
And it's going to happen to me this way, whether I want it to or not.
What do you think were some of the toughest parts about puberty and having to really face throughout that time?
The periods are an obvious one, because that's like every month, and it's like a horror movie. It's blood, and it's you gotta deal with it. You can't write this stuff. What's the worst way to remind someone of what's going on down there? Just flood it with blood. Send it off.
Puberty hit, and that was probably one of the hardest times of my entire life. Even when I got my period, I didn't tell one soul, because to me it literally felt like the worst punishment God could have given me.
Like, did you try to justify why God was doing this to you?
Yeah, I think I thought because I had crushes on girls and stuff. I was raised so Catholic. Like, we went to these churches where you gave confession on stage in front of people. I would remember thinking oh my God, hell's gonna hurt.
What kind of thoughts went through your head when you realized that you liked girls and you were not going to be, at least the sexuality, not what people expected you to be?
I think at the time I was scared. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be out and open at school. I don't know if I can be out and open with my parents. It's just this idea of how much more complicated my life is going to get by accepting this and actually living it. I feel like there were a lot of cards against me with actually being able to live in my truth with that. First thing being my religion, you know, super, super Catholic. There was my culture where being an immigrant from sort of like an Afro-European background, like that was just not accepted.
And that is the background that your parents came from. That is the culture that your parents were taught was the way that the world is.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously living with them, that bleeds into my own views, my own thoughts. So I'm thinking, you know, this is the last thing I need to be.
When did you first hear about the term trans?
I started making all these gay friends and I started meeting trans people. And that's when I first started understanding like all those things that I've been told my whole life of like, oh, this is what a trans person is, you know, the word tranny and like how they're portrayed in movies and everything. I was like, oh my God, that is not at all what it is. And what these people are telling me is exactly what I feel. So that was the first moment that I was like, whoa.
I was in high school. I came to terms with myself that I liked girls. I was looking up what LGBT stands for because I was like, I don't really feel like an L. You know, I never called myself a lesbian because I didn't feel like a girl that liked other girls. I would always just say I like girls. And I found transgender. I had no idea what it was. So I got on YouTube, as one does, and I found trans men. Their voices dropping, they're getting hairy, they're getting beards, they're getting muscles, and I was like, closed the laptop, pushed away, you know, terrified because it struck something within me.
I want to be hairy. I want to be muscular.
I want the hairiest butt.
I go to therapy, a gender therapist specifically. You know, I've been having these issues. I'm not comfortable in my body. I don't feel comfortable being called a lesbian. She literally like looks at me and says like, you have every single factor of having dysphoria. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no. And she's like, yes. Pretty much after that session, I started doing research, reddit.com, you know, where everything is super...
Very accurate information. Just second to urbandictionary.com.
I was like, okay, a licensed professional has told me this. I've always sort of known all of this, but repressed it. So now's the time to live my life.
2 years when I found out that transition was an option and something that existed when I was 14 up until 16, I was aware, but suppressing it, trying my best to get around it and see what I could do to be happy as a girl, be a masculine woman. When we moved away in high school, I started completely dressing as a guy, short hair, guy's clothes only, like very much presenting masculine to where everyone thought I was a guy, and I felt great. I was the happiest that I ever was when I was there. As I came to terms with being trans, all of those things started to make sense. Once you just allow yourself to feel how you actually feel, there's just so much peace.
Was it more difficult to come out to yourself or to others?
Definitely others. By the time I finally accepted this, I was so ready. It was like I couldn't wait one more day. I felt this insane amount of pride in who I was. Yeah. I came out in a kind of an interesting way because I just decided I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was just going to do it on my own. I just posted it on Instagram. And I mean, within 20 minutes, my phone started ringing. Every sibling, they were not happy. It was like, why didn't you tell us? How did I have to find out this way? And it's like, it wasn't for you. It's for me. And this is exactly why I did it.
Coming out to my parents was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I crafted this text message up for a couple weeks, was thinking, okay, when I come out to them, I'm going to get disowned. I'm going to have to find housing somewhere else. Like, I drove short while away to this park where I felt 100% safe. And I sent this long text message. I had my car packed up with every single belonging I ever owned.
You were prepared to never have to go back if they never wanted to see you again.
Yeah, unfortunately. After a grueling 10 minutes of waiting to see their response,
which felt like an eternity.
Literally, they responded back to me and they said, hey, we may not understand this, but we love you. Let's talk when we get home. And I was like, oh, I'm going home today.
The first person I came out to was my mom on accident.
How does that happen?
We're in the car and somehow the conversation came up about trans people. And I said, well, I've been watching these guys on YouTube and it's amazing. They go on testosterone, they look great, they have muscles, they have a deep voice, and it happens so quickly, and you'd never know. And she's like, oh, is that what you want to do? And I was like, oh my God. Wait, what? And I was like, yeah, I think I do.
What does transitioning entail?
It used to be a lot more methodical. You go on T for a year, top surgery. You continue T, and then maybe somewhere down the line, 10 years in, bottom surgery. Now, it's not so much like that. A lot of people are doing their own thing. For me, it's been almost 10 years of testosterone. I haven't had any surgeries yet, but I want surgeries. A lot of people think transition as a whole, the entire process is go to the doctor's office.
Yeah. Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
Snip, snap. You have no idea the toll. And then you come out and a completely different new gender. But the reason that people would want to wait, there's a lot of reasons, I think. For me, a lot of it has to do with wanting to be in the right spot in my life. Surgery takes a big toll. You're going to be down for a while. It takes a lot of money, time, research. It's a big life decision.
How often do you get asked about surgery?
All the time, especially if it's someone I haven't seen in a while. They're like, oh, Jesse, I saw you transition. Are you getting bottom surgery? People literally do that. I'll kind of laugh it off and I'll be like, you really shouldn't say that to trans people, but no, I'm not. What if I just walked up to cis people and started asking about their genitalia? That doesn't happen.
When some people hear that people don't feel like the gender that they were assigned at birth, they say, oh, just dress differently, just act differently. Like, why go through the process of changing your body as well?
There are different types of dysphoria. The social dysphoria of people believing I'm a woman and not recognizing me as a man. But I also have physical dysphoria with my own body and feeling that I don't want boobs.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest things that really did make you realize, oh yeah, this is who I am, this is who I've always been?
Once I was on T, that first year, I was probably the happiest I've ever been. Just seeing myself change in all the ways that I had hoped that I would. It's like taking off a mask and seeing yourself for the first time.
Voice. It was like one of the most affirming things ever. Facial hair, huge one. And starting to see like some muscle tone and stuff. And like even in my neck and my face, I was like, it was just like the best feeling in the world. I think I was feeling what most people feel every single day for the first time.
Is that the hormones going in your legs?
Yes, it is. I came out to my parents, and then, a month after, I started hormones.
Your parents were like, whoa.
Yeah,
Whiplash.
I mean, they were like,
we're going!
There was a lot of apprehension on their end.
Yeah.
Because when I had come out to them, they didn't even know I was queer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you had to come out as straight, though.
Yeah, well, one at a time.
What were some of the most unexpected side effects of transition?
The butt hair.
The butt hair. Well, I have still not embraced my butt hair.
It's too itchy if I try to shave it, so what's the point of denying it? It's just like, you gotta accept yourself.
You're right. I think I'm just going to have to accept it.
The horniness is so different. Like, as crazy as that sounds, like, I do see why, like, there's that, like, classic thing that, like, all men think about sex 100 times a day, because before testosterone, I did not.
How many more times a day do you think about sex than you did when you were a woman?
Probably like 100 times.
100 times more?
Yeah, like I think about it all the time. I probably maybe once a day, maybe. And now it's like literally all the time. I still treat women with the utmost respect, and I would never hurt a woman.
Wait, you could be horny and treat people with respect at the same time?
Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm experiencing every single thing they experience, and I still am a great guy. I got teased so bad in middle school called like and all these lesbian slurs when I was so scared for that to happen again that like I got a boyfriend and I like did everything I was supposed to do. I dressed feminine and I was like, I'm not dealing with that. And that was another thing. I like remember my sisters being like, why don't you have sex with your boyfriend? And being like, oh, like, so I did that thinking that was going to help like show I'm straight and cis and all these things. And then I got pregnant. If puberty felt wrong, pregnancy was puberty on steroids. It wasn't until after I gave birth that like then it really started hitting me why that was so miserable for me. I felt like I was dying. Like I remember like my sister had been pregnant really close to me and she was like loving it. And I was like, I do not feel that.
Do you think that part of the reason that your sisters were able to enjoy it was because it felt like, part of the process to motherhood, to womanhood?
And if I felt so the opposite way, of course that felt so wrong for me. Like if you got any man and they were pregnant, they would feel so weird.
How has seeing your journey shaped your child's perspective of gender and societal norms?
As young as a baby, I started doing gender neutral parenting. The problem with that was that they were raised in a split home and they had so many family members that everyone else would undo what I was doing. They would come home from like their other parents' house with like Barbies and pink dresses and all these things. So then I had to almost step back a little bit and be like, I don't want to seem like the parent that's then trying to take these things from you. So by the time I came out as trans, they were very like not shocked, and it wasn't this like, oh my god, my parents going from a mom to a dad. They were kind of like, yeah, you've always been masculine, you've always been, I thought maybe non-binary or whatever it is, so this actually makes sense.
Has your parenting style evolved with your gender, mother versus father? Like, is there a different way that you parent?
Maybe if someone was watching it from the outside, maybe they would see subtle differences.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've always felt like this brain was my brain. And I've asked Arlo this. I was like, did you notice a difference? And Arlo was like, no, you're exactly the same.
Right.
I've asked Arlo too. I've asked, like, do you ever miss having a mom? Like, now you have two dads. Not at all. You're the same to me. Like, you're the same parent. You're the same person. Your outside just matches your inside.
Do you feel like you missed out on your childhood as a boy?
Definitely. You already feel like you go through a second puberty because of the hormones, 100%. Like, I deal with everything like a 13, 14.
Your voice started cracking?
You name it,
Yeah.
it's there.
We heard a lot about the butt hair.
I didn't get that, but like...
Lucky you!
I like didn't get very hairy. Like, some of my friends have like beards, and I'm like, this is the most I can grow. A lot of people would be like, oh, you're so like immature, you act young, or like whatever. And it's like, I don't even care when people say that to me. It's like, because I'm finally getting to do things that like I never got to do.
How important is it to you to be passable for other people to see you as a man without you having to say anything?
The parts of passing that I didn't experience when I was younger, you know, to be able to have that now, people using, you know, he, him pronouns, people calling me sir or bro.
Bro,
That means the world.
bruh. Is it just as much a mental transition as it could be a physical one?
Everything on the inside feels exactly the same.
So this meat bag was wrong.
Yeah. Skin suit. Yeah, I always call it a skin suit because for me, I remember growing up and feeling like literally like I was in a bad costume.
Yeah.
Like a tight, wrong, ill-fitting, hot, uncomfortable, miserable costume.
What's been the most difficult part about transitioning to a man? You can.
I'm gonna be honest, it's a lot easier than being a woman, so I don't have a lot of complaints. Male privilege is real.
It's real?
It's real, and I've got it.
It's real. Male privilege is real. Confirmed.
Male privilege is real.
Is it real?
Men and women treat me better now. People respect my like thoughts more. That's sad.
It's kind of fucked up.
It is very fucked up.
Nobody like sexualizes me anymore. Or even when I was a lesbian, it was so many straight men being like, oh, lesbians are hot. I also don't feel as like scared walking alone. Even how like, let's say I'm in a group at a party, I think other men will like direct questions and things towards me instead of like the girls next to me. Pretty much everything that I saw when I was a female presenting person and was like, hey, that's not fair, I'm seeing now from the other side.
Do you have any kind of averse reaction when someone uses your dead name? And you know I can't go without thanking BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Therapy has helped reframe my view of the world and myself by allowing me to feel empathy for my younger self and therefore understand who I am today better. But therapy can be customized to whatever is right for you and can be useful in helping with motivation or feelings of depression, anxiety, stress, insecurity, or whatever else you might need. BetterHelp screens all their therapists to ensure that they have experience and that they're certified and licensed, and provides customized therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone or speak over the phone if that's not something that you're comfortable with. As you may have found out by now, therapy can be expensive, and the price of finding a therapist that you like and that you actually connect with can be overwhelming, which is why BetterHelp offers a more affordable alternative to in-person therapy where you can start communicating with your therapist in less than 48 hours. So thank you to BetterHelp, who are giving I Spent a Day with viewers and listeners of the podcast, uncensored by the way, 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com. That's better, HELP.com/Padilla. Now, back to the world of trans men.
My dead name was the name that I had before transition. So I chose my name when I transitioned and went and legally changed it. But the name that I was given at birth by my parents is my dead name. I think that for me, I see my entire life leading up to my transition